north and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner.
Man, I'm confident in our offense, that's for sure.
Yeah, she's got some nice
Welcome
long
back
hair.
to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube. Make sure to also rate 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. Today, we are breaking down the first week of OTAs. Also, join us on our quest to 2,000 subscribers. And when we do, we will be donating an additional $100 to NAMI, which is a place that really focuses on mental health. But PayPal, good afternoon, and how are you doing, my friend?
Hey, good afternoon, Fred. I'm doing okay. I've been taking the past few days off for work. I've been kind of feeling sick. I feel like you, Brad. I got my fancy drink. If anyone can guess in the comments, I'll give a little time for people to guess what it is. It kind of looks like pee, but it's matter of fact, it's ginger ale. So it's something I figured out. I was on a flight the other day, and I love ginger ale. It's a nice little drink once in a while. A lot of sugar, so you don't try to have it too much, but it's a nice drink, and it looks kind of fancy with the color.
Yeah, you said you've been a little under the weather, so I'm glad you're able to hop on, break down some OTAs, and like we were talking, right? It's good to just kind of break this down, see where the team's at. It's nice that they're at least doing stuff, right? Because now we can talk some Bears, and that's really what we're going to be breaking down today is this first week. What happened? And just kind of breaking out some of the good storylines. There's some bad storylines out there as well that we're going to dig in. But PayPal, I'm itching to go with this. I'm itching to start out because this is a pretty cool story. Chase Claypool is going to be the first topic of conversation for us. Chase Claypool, Justin Fields was asked about Claypool, and this is via Josh Chirac over at NBC Sports Chicago. And Justin Fields said Chase has improved tremendously from the end of last year to now. That's one thing I'm truly proud to say. Seeing his work ethic, his attitude change, you can just see he's taking another step. So definitely excited for that. So PayPal, that's what Justin Fields said. He's excited for it. Are you excited for it? Are you buying into the hype?
Well, yeah. Last show, we talked about how I truly think Chase Claypool is he's kind of that missing piece in the wide receiver group. Like, if he's down and he's not playing well, we don't have that big jump ball receiver. We don't really have anyone else in our wide receiver group that can really get up and get the ball like he does. So I think it's huge. Like, we saw how confused Chase Claypool looked last year, just when he was running routes, setting up for plays, as well as kind of Justin Fields didn't know really how to throw to him. But now I love hearing that because he's a talented guy, and I just want him to really show what he's got.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of behind the hype. I mean, it's off season, right? So it's like, now's the time to get excited. We have a long way until football. And yeah, like, we know that he's a talented player. We didn't see it last year. And I think that's why I also really like hearing this, because like you can see it, right? You can tell that there's more there. And if he can play, he's taking advantage of these snaps too, because we'll talk about Darnell Mooney not being out there, but seeing him out there, seeing him succeed, it's good that they can build some of that chemistry. I think a big reason why it's also huge to have that chemistry with them is he's not like DJ Moore, where he will create separation, or a Darnell Mooney. It's going to be closer. It's going to be bigger contested catches, and he gives you a big body at the wide receiver position. So I like the concept. I saw it out there on Bears Twitter, 10-2, right? Like, you got to throw it to 10-2. I really like just the overall concept with Chase Claypool.
Yeah, I think, Justin Fields, I think he learned from last year that the media takes whatever you say into account, and they'll like analyze it and everything. So I think him saying that, and the way he said it confidently, like, he knows, if it doesn't pan out, like, people are going to be hating on him or being like, oh, what you said he's going to turn out. So I think Justin Fields is confident when he said that message of Chase Claypool has improved and he's going to look better. So I'm on the hype train, Brad. I'm on the hype train.
Right. It's like, all right, let's keep riding the hype train. Justin Fields looking good, right? Justin Fields has been throwing the football a lot. And what I've been hearing out of it is Justin Fields is trying to feed DJ Moore even more. And the first practice, they said, really kind of stole the show. DJ Moore made a great diving catch. And what is Justin Fields going to be working on? Justin Fields stated this actually via the Chicago Bears social media that he's just trying to be more consistent with his quick game stuff. He says, I feel like down the field, I'm pretty accurate. Just being more consistent with getting the ball out faster, being more accurate, giving my wide receivers, my running backs, tight ends, a better chance to catch the ball and run for extra yards. I'm focusing pretty hard on that this offseason. And I love hearing that Justin Fields had some good connections with DJ Moore, and it's just good, right? You want to have it's different this time around too, because you actually know who the number one and arguably number two, right? You know who the starting wide receivers, who your top three receivers are going to be, rather than last year where you're like, okay, Byron Pringle, EQ St. Brown, Dante Pettis. Good vibes because he can actually play with them. And right now they're saying he's gunslinging it. He's seeing what DJ Moore's capable of. But man, when you hear them do their interviews, you could definitely tell Justin Fields is hyped.
Yeah, you can tell because DJ Moore, he didn't really say too much in his interview, maybe because he's still new to the franchise. He's not really comfortable with the media yet. But he was saying how you kind of only need an off season to kind of get ready to build that chemistry, which I think is important. First of all, Chase Claypool, we kind of already hearing that he is building chemistry, but to get DJ Moore and his chemistry with Justin Fields, which I wasn't too worried about because DJ Moore, it seems like he knows how to build chemistry, but man, Justin Fields, like with his connection with DJ Moore, you can see, like, I can see his improvement really improving this year just because it is his second year in the offense. You can tell, like, he's got confidence in the coaching staff. I mean, when Justin Fields was asked about, is he worried about a contract extension? It's his contract extension year. He blew that off. He's like, I'm just worried about winning games.
Yeah.
And he got asked it like twice. And he's like,
Who
yeah,
keeps
like,
asking him that? Like,
yeah,
seriously, like,
yeah,
it's not a contract year. I mean, it's not the end of his contract year, but it's the
yeah, it's
fifth year
not.
extension. He can get the
Yeah,
bonus. But yeah, it's like,
yeah, and it's just like, okay, so, and then yeah, he basically reiterated, which he kind of has this whole offseason of, yeah, the coaching staff believes in me. Like, they didn't draft a quarterback. They didn't even look at quarterbacks. They didn't draft one. Like, they got all these guys to like surround me with, like, they
yeah,
trusted me. And it seems like if I, for any job or anything, if your boss or your whatever believes in you, like, you're going to perform a lot better. Or you're going to deal with adversity a lot more, like, better than a coaching staff that doesn't.
I did hear on the flip side though that the rumor is in the locker room that Fields does know he has to produce. So
Yeah.
like he understands that this is his team this year, but if he sucks or if he doesn't prove more, right? Like if he doesn't show natural progression like you're kind of expecting with having better people around him, then unfortunately the Bears might have to look elsewhere. But I hate even saying that because I freaking love Justin Fields. And this is
Yeah.
this is the offseason and we're talking about getting hyped. But babe,
Yeah, with that you could say that to anyone on the field. You could be like, oh yeah,
yeah.
you got to perform. I guess everyone is kind of on that chopping block, so to speak. But
I'm trying to think of anything else from the offense. The other things that I'll just bring up, it's interesting seeing Jatiri Carter. People were saying kind of looked to be the starter at right guard since Nate Davis wasn't there. So Jatiri Carter more so took the first team reps rather than a Lucas Patrick. But at the same time, is it just my guess is he's a younger player. You drafted him. You want to see his reps. You know what you have with Lucas Patrick. But also with this, it's since there's no pads, they're not running the football a lot, so they're trying to pass it more. They're also not sprinting and running like they did during actual training camp. They're really more focused on just getting things out there, and they're jogging rather than having to run. So it's a slower tempo to practice, but it makes sense. They just want to make sure that everything is scheduled out there. But do you have anything on the offensive side?
Yeah, I saw I did some deep diving on
Okay.
I listened to the Amon-Ra St. Brown and EQ St. Brown, like their podcast. And basically they had Mooney on there. And I wish we could get guests like that, like get Darnell Mooney in here, just like a snap of the finger. But yeah, he was talking about his ankle and how he's not worried about his ankle. Like it feels amazing. He was cutting in practice for routes and which was good for me to hear because I didn't know really where his health was. You never know with any lower body injury of how they're gonna be after it. Will they be able to cut as quick, especially for his game because he's all about speed, route running. And yeah, I guess with that too, Justin Fields kind of talked about how it's important with the receivers, how they're all in their own specific roles now, where you're not going to have Mooney be the X receiver, the slot receiver, thrown all over the place. Like it seems like, everyone has their own role. Like Mooney's going to be slot, all that stuff.
And that was going to be the next big thing, right? Like with the injuries, we already kind of have two injuries, quote unquote, that we're monitoring, but they're from last year, right? Darnell Mooney and Eddie Jackson being MIA from practice. You kind of gave a fill in on Darnell Mooney. Nate Davis, we're still kind of seeing. It seems like it might just be a veteran thing for voluntary OTAs. So you kind of would like to see him there because he is the starting right guard that we just paid good money to. But are you worried about Bojack at all being MIA or
No, I'm not really worried about him. I mean, it's crazy thinking about how long he's played for the Bears. And I
right?
mean, I was looking like old Bears film and he was there for the initial Nagy days and that just feels so long ago.
Yeah, it might have been Tressman too. Or no, John
Yeah, he
Fox.
might.
John Fox.
Yeah, John Fox. Like
Definitely.
he's definitely the longest Bear on this team. I feel like no one comes close to how long he's been, maybe Patrick Scales.
But
Yeah.
like that's a default.
Yeah, that's default. So I'm not too worried about him. Like he's definitely committed to the Bears. It's not like he's throwing a fit
or injury. Like I was
injury
mainly
related
concerned
or
about the
anything.
injuries, but yeah, like if he's not full, he's the vet, and he already kind of showed what he was capable of. Just rest up, get it all set. But let's actually go over to the defense because there was someone who was not there that did cause quite the stir or kind of some discussions out there. Jaylon Johnson, our cornerback, held out. Hey, pal, do you feel like there's a holdout looming? Is this the beginning of the holdout?
I guess the only thing is like it seems like Jaylon Johnson doesn't get the quote unquote respect he deserves sometimes. So I could see it from that perspective, but man, I mean, Jaylon Johnson seems like he's committed to this team. Like he's never mentioned anything about his contract. I think it's just kind of overblown. It's kind of a fun little media hype thing to be like, oh yeah, here's Roquan from last year, important piece of the defense, core guy of the defense last year holding out. And then here's Jaylon Johnson. I didn't look into it, but I imagine Jaylon Johnson has an agent. Like he's not his own agent at this time. And even if he is, he's a little bit older, so he has the experience. I'm not too worried about him holding out.
See, I'm kind of on the flip side though. I kind of disagree a little bit where I've been nervous about this because Jaylon, you know how these corners are. Corners are very confident, and you have to be confident to be a cornerback. And Jaylon Johnson has one of the weirdest like contract disputes. He's a good player. He's been banged up and he's part of the old regime. He probably wants to be re-signed. He probably has some disrespect on his name. To me, I would just let him play it out. And yeah, and if he's sitting out, it's like, that's unfortunate. But I think that's also why you have Terrell Smith. And if this is the beginning of the holdout, which I kind of feel like, I don't think he would hold out for training camp. But
Yeah.
I think it's just more in spite that he just doesn't want to be there. But I think of even like there's still a handful of corners. I'd rather try to figure out what you're going to do with Jaylon Johnson sooner rather than later, just so that you can at least plan accordingly right now.
Hey,
But
I love it though, just because I love seeing Terrell get snaps a lot.
good point.
All these younger guys. It seems like Greg Stroman. He's playing really well in the slot, so it's like all these young guys that we have are able to step in. And I mean, if he does hold out or whatever, it's like, all right, well, at least these guys have been playing and they've been playing together and they've been, we'll give it their all. So I kind of like it, that perspective of that we get
That's a
these
good
young
point.
guys get to play.
Yeah, because then you truly get to see Terrell Smith. You get to see him and Stevenson. And one thing too that I heard is that Kyler Gordon predominantly played slot and did not play anywhere else.
Mm.
Even when they were in base, they had the young guys out there, young guys, aka not Kyler Gordon out there. So I felt like that was a very interesting move that Kyler Gordon wasn't an outside corner at all. It really just kind of reinforced they believe that he's a slot. They just moved him to the outside corner because Blackwell was going beast mode. So it does kind of show a little bit what they think about these corners. But let's actually talk a little bit about, we'll break down the defense, but we have to talk about the new addition, Tremaine Edmunds. A lot of people saying this guy turns heads because when he's out there, he is all of 6'5", absolute gigantic beast, and had a pick six. So people said, and people watching, you can actually see it. The Bears posted this out on Twitter. Looked good, grabbed it, ran it back for 6 points. But it's good to just hear that someone that we invested a bunch of money in, you kind of see the athleticism, you see the quickness, you see the agility, you see the coverage ability. It's nice to have that out there. And yes, we know that he is a beast already, but it's just nice to have that confirmed, especially since we are investing so much into him.
Yeah, man, Brad, I think if we ever get to training camp he's going to be fun to watch. Like,
I can't wait.
He's got everything. And like, it just makes you happy. I mean, we were just talking about Roquan of like, I dare say it, but I'm like so happy that we actually got rid of Roquan now. Cause it's like, we got him now and TJ Edwards. And it's like, yeah, he's so fast, so tall, so big. And something that just stood out to me was like, he's a real leader of this team. Like, you can tell he's bringing his experience from the Buffalo Bills and he's really sitting down these younger players, like either in the linebacker room or whatever, everyone on the defense, and really telling them that this is going to be a process. Like, if we mess up on the field, let's point that out and correct it. And we're not going to make that mistake again, because that's what championship teams do. They don't make mistakes again. So I love what he just looks, he's so confident. He's so smart as a player too. And he's just got everything, Brad. And it's awesome. And he's still young too.
Yeah.
Like, it's awesome.
I'll also bring up another player that is quietly going under the radar, and we got to give him some love. I know that when they made this signing, I was a big fan of it, and Andrew Billings.
Oh, yeah.
The big man's got to get some love, and actually Tremaine Edmunds gave him love. According to Daniel Greenberg, he said this is from the Chicago Bears that Daniel Greenberg reported out. Chicago Bears linebacker Tremaine Edmunds said he has been impressed with defensive lineman Andrew Billings, and he's a guy the young players should learn from. Edmunds on Billings, he's a big man that can move. He's going to cause a lot of havoc up front, a true professional. And you love hearing that about Billings, especially since we know we have young defensive tackles,
Yeah.
someone that they can learn from, someone also that can hold his own against a lot of these guys. And people saying too, yeah, like I remember he's like 6 foot, he's 6'1", he's like a shorter defensive tackle, but the dude is big, the dude is thick. So it's nice to at least hear that, yeah, someone who you feel confident, who has been a journeyman, but has been a solid player, is at least kind of turning some heads out there with his overall play.
Yeah, and two, I guess he kind of mentioned Edmunds in his interview. Also mentioned Justin Jones, and that's as a great leader, which is awesome. Hearing him compliment Andrew Billings and Justin Jones, yeah, with developing these young guys, I think that was huge. And then he also said leaders like Eddie Jackson, and then young leaders like Jaquan Brisker, which we already knew our safety group was solidified with those two guys. Um, but man, I mean, Tremaine, he kind of mentioned too of like these championship teams. He's trying to bring all the stuff he's learned from the Buffalo Bills. That the off-field connection is like the biggest key part of building that relationship, bringing that trust. You're going full speed head to head with all these guys around you, and you got to trust they're going to be in their zone, fill their gaps, all that. So seems like that's kind of the big focus that he's bringing to this team of make sure let's hang out. Like let's let's just hang out like outside of football, because that's going to help us grow together.
And so Renewable saying, give the big men some love, right? Like we got to love the big man. The other person that I think this is not a big guy, still a big guy, not as big as Billings, DeMarcus Walker. It was reported that he made a good move and went past and basically would have lit up the quarterback. Where did he do this from? He did this over the right guard at defensive tackle.
Wow.
Now, I know that there's been we need defensive ends. This just solidifies it more because I know we've talked about this on the show that he should play some 3 technique, right? Like the way that I'd put him out there is if it's third down, I would move DeMarcus Walker to the 3 tech and have him rush the passer. I think that he's very quick, and then you have your younger guys be able to blow up and rush the passer. DeMarcus Walker lined up on the interior, so they do believe that he's going to be moving around. So sign a freaking defensive end so we can have some more people on the defensive end. But it was nice to hear, though, that they're like the different people reporting that DeMarcus Walker still looks really good. Even though that he had an amazing year last year, it looks like, hey, this wasn't just a one-year fluke. He's looking good. Yet again, it's basically 1 day of practice. So it's not like and no one's wearing pads. But it's still nice to hear that someone you'd rather have it that way rather than, yeah, DeMarcus Walker looks like he can't even move.
Yeah, it seems, I want to say this team's like already ready for the playoffs, but it seems like, we got the
Super
pieces. Yeah, Super Bowl team, yeah. But it seems like the team's learning of like, yeah, we still gotta get better, but like we're seeing kind of, what are what polls and Eberflus has done of like building this team of like last year we knew they weren't going to do anything special, and then now it's kind of that next step up. You kind of see like, all right, like now we're kind of going to be a mid-tier team, or even we'll see if we can climb up to that top 10 top 12 teams now,
like what we said last episode where things have to go right to kind of be that top tier, right? That upper echelon. Also, Bears Bones asking a question: what about Sewell for pass rushing? What's your take on that, PayPal?
Hey, I could see him. I don't know about edge. We'll see. We know we had Sanborn, a lot of our linebackers last year blitz, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did use him. I would like it. Because, man, you saw it in college. Like, he's got the body type for it. I think he's got the size and the quickness where it's that odd matchup for a tackle if you blitz from the outside. I don't think he's ever going to be lined up at edge, though. Like, he's going to be kind of that fifth blitzer, or he's going to be blitzing from still linebacker spot.
I agree with you there. I see him as like if I was defensive coordinator, I would move him around. I would actually put Sanborn and him out there at the same time and have like 3 defensive linemen. And yes, I know that's basically a 3-4, but I would do things that way, and you kind of have them moving around, and then you can have one get back in coverage, one blitz, because Sanborn showed that he's able to blow people up on the interior, and it's like you line up as a double A gap, so over center, like right in the middle, and then one goes back in coverage. They'll be like, "What the heck?" And like, yeah,
wow,
right?
I like that, Brad.
Right?
Maybe we're just drinking the same Kool-Aid, but like, yeah, have Andrew Billings as the nose tackle.
Yeah,
DeMarcus Walker. You're just saying, he's great. Yeah, he can play in the interior, and then have our boy Justin Jones. I think he's going to do great now that there's better people around him. So, yeah, it could be
you
something.
have defensive ends that are big. Yeah, like we could do that. It doesn't have to be one system, right? And I think with those linebackers, why not try and take advantage of that? Why not get creative and try and do some blitz packages? Great question. But PayPal, anything else before we wrap up? I'm trying to, I just went through my notes. That seemed to be it. Travis Gibson broke a sled. I mean, I know whenever I watch a sled breaking in training camp, it's always like the most exciting thing you ever see, even better than like a catch in the red zone. Everybody just goes crazy, but it's not like, all right, it's not like Madden where his strength just went up like 2 points because he did that. It's just happens.
It's just cool, it means he's really putting his all into training and camp and all that. It's cool. I remember being there for training camp that one year, and we heard, you hear it break, you're like, oh crap, what was that? But yeah, I just think, we'll see how this offense, the offense defense, I really think Tremaine Edmunds said something good with that off-field connection. We kind of saw it with our coaching staff of really appreciating like Cole Kmet and Justin Fields, graduating college. I think that's something huge. Like Eberflus was really highlighting that in the meetings, it sounded like. And
Tevin Jenkins
with his wedding.
Awesome to see that.
Yeah, like Justin Fields, and then I don't know exactly who else showed up to that wedding, but a bunch of Chicago. I mean, it's cool, like when you have your teammates really support you, stuff outside your job, and that's where it really it really feels like a team. Then you just don't know what you guys do outside of football.
Yeah, definitely. But that's why we're going to try and keep you up to date as much as possible throughout all these OTAs and what's going on. We have a handful of also epic topics that we'll be breaking down all off season. So you're going to want to stay tuned here. Make sure to click subscribe. Make sure to make sure to comment down below what you're excited about as well. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair and